You miss these altcoins because no one is talking about them, yet they are outperforming like crazy. While most traders chase these same old opportunities, smart money are repositioning out of Solana and into new narratives. The question is, are you paying attention? Today, I'm going to show you why Sonic and others are dominating the market based on real utility and mass adoption, not hype and vaporware promises. But more importantly, we finally might have 5 real pillars for upcoming Altseason to actually happen. If you understand this shift before the rest of the market catches on, you can position yourself better than 99% of traders out there. I will walk you through the key data, market trends, and the exact trades to take right now. Most will be late to this move. You won't be. Do me a favor, press that like button and let's get into today's video. Now guys, not everything is that bright as it seems. Crypto Kappa is sharing, expecting altcoins to pump 10 to 20% from here. However, I believe this bounce is a bull trap because a big drop is likely to follow. After that potential drop, second capitulation event, the local bottom should be in and Altseason is likely. Adaptation is key. Let's see. These are the thoughts of many respectable traders on the marketplace currently. The general overview is that we're going to $103,000 per Bitcoin and then no one knows what will be happening. Kappa is sharing bearish scenario here, obviously that right after we're dropping to $80,000 Bitcoin. If you want to figure out whether or not I actually think we're dropping to these levels, make sure to watch this video till the end. I will try to provide all information with data supporting it the best I can to prove my point that I have to share on this situation right here. And people that would be able to catch this move, people that will be able to catch the bottom of the price action at this stage, they will be benefiting the most, capitalizing the most on this marketplace. Now let's talk about Sonic. This is not a scam, this is not some weird chart out there. This is actually the chart of Sonic at this stage. Just yesterday it was around 0.7. Some time before it was around 0.5, and this thing already did almost 3x from the bottoms of the drop on the 3rd of February. Very few coins actually showed this type of price performance. Right now we try to figure out why Sonic is outperforming and what is the upside that might actually be left there still. Whether or not you should be longing Sonic at this stage, or maybe you should be buying into the assets of this ecosystem, because we'll also go through the ecosystem of Sonic and figure out where are these low cap gems that you would actually be able to make money on spot as well. Here's the total value locked of Sonic. We can see that at this stage it's at $900 million. If you remember, just last week I was showing and telling that Sonic TVL was at around $200 million. Or $400 million. It's growing like crazy, pretty much up over 4x, most likely on the last 30 days time frame. And this is very important to figure out why something like this is actually happening. According to Messari, what we can also see here is that Sonic DEX trading volume surpasses $1 billion milestone, with top DEXs like Shadow and Wagmi essentially showing the bulk of this trading volume. It pretty much achieved more than 2 billion DEX volume in the last 2 months. Obviously, there are some things like arbitrage bots that they can just be operating transactions, making $1 or $2 of profit with millions of dollars, and all of these millions of dollars, they would be counted as volume, but still the metric is quite a significant one. And now let's actually dive deep into the Sonic ecosystem, figure out what is outperforming at this stage and where the opportunity lies within the undervalued gems that are present at this stage. It's quite interesting that despite the fact that the ecosystem is new, you might think that there are just too many dApps at this stage. And it definitely makes sense because Sonic was just a rebranding of FTM chain. Therefore, a lot of products, a lot of alts, a lot of dApps, they are already present in this ecosystem. But what's important and what's interesting is that I won't say that a lot of previous older projects are actually doing well. I would say the new stuff that emerged on the ecosystem with the introduction of Sonic is doing the best at this stage. As, for example, the DEX Shadow, as we can see here. Just look at this chart. Shadow is actually at the top of Sonic deck screener at this stage, which means that it's receiving most of the volume out there. And the market cap of this thing is $35 million. Just these stats in the current market, they're just crazy. It did 35% over the last 24 hours. This is where money actually go into. If you're seeing your Sol coins not doing that well, or maybe your alts being sold, or some of your memes, these are what the holders of these things actually doing. They're selling and they're repositioning into Sonic ecosystem at this stage. It's also very, very interesting to see that we kind of have this direction on returning to utility. But what we have to figure out is why this thing actually pumping in the first place, and whether or not this is the Ponzi. And the most thing, because even if it's a Ponzi, can we make money on it at this stage? What is the upside that's left? Or maybe the most of the upside is exhausted already, and if you would be just buying into this asset currently, you would only serve as exit liquidity. Now, Shadow is a Sonic native concentrated liquidity layer and a DEX that's been used to swap assets on the Sonic chain. Now, why Shadow is actually outperforming at this stage? Main reason is because it's introducing new revolutionary game theory into the equation. Mainly because rebasing was introduced to protect current token holders from inflation, from dilution that leads to devalue of what they are holding. The main concept to understand is that imagine you're holding a piece of the pie, and over time, as pie grows bigger, your piece of the pie becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. In this model, your piece of the pie actually stays the same. How does this work? When the new coins are actually introduced, the current token holders, they're getting rebased to keep the same percentage of the whole pie in the coins that they have. This was inspired by Olympus DAO concept that pretty much was rocking the world in the last cycle and had similar type of implementation. They also introduced a PvP rebasement into Shadow. If someone is actually exiting early, his tokens are being redistributed between all of the holders that keep holding the coin, which pretty much incentivizes the holding behavior with the protocol and punishes people that sell early or want to take profits. Ideal scenario that you actually need for a proper Ponzi out there. And from my point of view, the market is unhealthy at this stage, mainly because it's incentivizing traders. When the market is incentivizing traders, it's always unhealthy. All of the ecosystems, all of the projects, all of the people that are connected with any assets out there, they should be focusing on incentivizing the holders. This is how the market will become healthy, because less than 5% of traders are actually making any money, but 90% of holders are profitable. If you want to introduce new people into the niche, if you want to introduce the strategy that actually will attract new people and make them stay, they should be making money through holding. Thus far within this cycle, if you held altcoins, if you held certain meme coins, you are probably down badly, which leads to the capital leaving the industry at this stage. Until project founders and until we in this space will understand this, nothing will be changing. That's why I actually quite support Murat thesis out there. Just believe and hold. Rebasement mechanics that I just mentioned are the reason that Shadow charts looks like this right now. Shadow at this stage has the TVL, total value locked. This essentially defines the money that are locked within the protocol at $100 million. And you can see how parabolic is the rise of this TVL at this stage right here. And it also is collecting $400,000 in fees on a daily basis. 100% I can tell you that this was not the case even a week ago. So despite the fact I still think that there is certain upside to this trade, it might be quite limited. Although in terms of the amount of people that never breached on Sonic yet at this stage, and they're still holding some funds in Sol or maybe some other ecosystems, there definitely should be some upside, right? Because very, very few people are actually talking about Sonic. Until your large accounts on X, on YouTube, are going to start talking about these specific protocols, you should be fine. At the same time, you might say that a lot of people were talking about Sonic the coin, but very, very few were talking about Sonic the ecosystem. SwapX is another thing that is pumping on Sonic currently, which is the part of ecosystem. It's essentially the default automated market maker DEX. It doesn't have this type of Ponzinomic that Shadow has, which honestly would probably make me bet more on Shadow out there, but you can see how the chart looks like as well. So it did, I would say, 3.5x in the last several days, right? But I would say that the upside on Shadow should be slightly better at this stage, because this type of Ponzinomics, they often cause stupid valuations to come for the projects that apply these type of Ponzinomics in their tokenomic structure. X is another example of Ponzinomics type of coin that is doing quite well and was launched quite recently on 14th of February. So I would always advise to be cautious with things that are essentially have launched recently from the time when ecosystem was bullish right away. They're essentially using the Ponzinomics that are present on X coin and as Sonic coin itself. And in other words, it's just a Ponzi at this stage. So as soon as Sonic will be in the attention, it will be going higher. As soon as attention will leave the ecosystem, it will probably drop the first out there. It's truly a hard game to figure out whether or not you should be investing in these type of assets at this stage. As usual, I won't say that you're early right now. You can just try to throw some money there, because overall I kind of have a feeling that the market at this stage, it does not follow this narrative fully. Market is still talking about scams that were happening on Solana. Market is talking about Ethereum at this stage. A lot of people are neglecting this thing. And me personally, for example, I was not bridging funds to Sonic. Most likely, when I will finally try to bridge funds to Sonic, this would actually become closer to the top signal, because oftentimes I just decide for myself to fade these opportunities right away, and for some reason, once at the end they are hyped up to the max, I might be bridging some funds out there. But for the current holders, this is definitely a nice opportunity, and just continue to hold, I think, is the right thing to do right here. This is the chart of Sonic at this stage. This is the most performing altcoin. It's very, very interesting that the narrative that we also have currently in the market is that layer ones are really the ones that are actually receiving liquidity. This is a very, very important thing, a very, very important statement that I would like you to focus on in making decisions in the upcoming couple of weeks and several weeks in terms of essentially investing in certain ecosystems. Because even following the last cycle, two best performing narratives were actually memes and layer ones. We are in a very, very interesting situation right now. The question you might say is why? Why this coin is moving the way it's moving? First, obviously, because it was a nice rebranding just recently. That's why you kind of see that the chart of the coin, the price history of the coin is not that big one, right? And oftentimes when all the projects, they're getting a rebranding, they're getting a beat from the market. Second time is because as Sonic, they focused on two main things. First, the chain is very, very cheap at this stage. Transactions, they take less than 1 or 2 seconds, and they're really, really cheap. And second thing, which is something that's very, very important, because Solana does not have it, Sui doesn't have it as well, despite the fact that their transactions are quite cheap. It's EVM-based chain, which means that most of the software, most of the dApp that actually build in Ethereum, in layer 2s, it can be easily transferred to Sonic, which means that with all the Ponzinomics that are happening on chain, and with the fast transaction speed, and with the focus of utility, we also see the inflow of builders coming on this chain currently and actually building on it as well, because it's quite easy to just merge and transfer dApps that are successful on other chains to this one right now. And growth in TVL definitely shows it. And TVL is one of the main metrics to actually focus on when figure out whether the chain is a success or not, and whether you should be putting some of your funds into the chain and try to play with some stuff on the chain. This V-shaped recovery is absolutely insane on the chart, and your default levels of resistance, and there are essentially not many here, right? I would just mention several of them, right? So if you don't want to be entering currently, you might want to wait for this thing to go back somewhere to 0.7816. You can essentially have your limit orders. I doubt that we are going back to these levels. I doubt that we might be seeing 0.61 only if the market would essentially be bearish. But if the uptrend will continue, we'll probably be seeing our entries coming to at least this level, right? This one is in a more bearish setup. And there is a high likely chance that we would be seeing this type of price action essentially right here as well, which will provide you with a very, very nice entry point for your longs at this stage. Sonic coin is effectively in price discovery at this stage, so it would be quite hard to give any targets for that one. Although I do believe the ecosystem definitely should have some room to grow moving further. And we can focus on the most important metrics out there. And these metrics are quite important because from the TVL point of view, not Solana, not even Sui was achieving this type of TVL, mainly because of the reason that Solana is not the chain that was historically being used for DeFi, because market essentially thinks that it's too centralized, and because it was breaking down as well. So there were moments in the history of crypto and history of Solana when Solana was just not working. So what we can see here, we can see the line that is showing TVL to us, we can see the line that is showing stablecoin supply, and we can see the line that is showing the price. And we can specifically see that all these metrics are going higher. And I would even say that TVL and stablecoin supply is moving higher faster than the price of the token at this stage, which means that essentially price of the token is usually the lagging metric for any type of coin out there. So you should focus on TVL, you should focus on the supply of stable coins, and ideally, if you can figure out the development activities, how many dApps actually merging, what is happening, what are the volumes. This is also very, very good leading metrics out there. You focus on the leading metrics, you make a decision based on the leading metrics first, and then you see your lagging metric, which is the price, just going higher and higher and higher. Following these metrics, I would say that there is still some upside left in Sonic the coin at this stage. And now I will explain why the actual secret source of this price action is Sonic to Solana chart, because it will tell us what is happening currently, where are our entries, and what is highly likely to continue to happen as well. This is Sonic to Solana chart at this stage. If this thing is going down, it means that Sonic underperforms Solana. If this thing is going higher, it means that Sonic is outperforming Solana. At this stage, we can clearly see that this chart is in price discovery. Following the levels that I just gave you on the chart of Sonic, you can also try to correlate your chart of Sonic to USDT to the chart of Solana, and try to look for your entries around the same type of support zones, essentially, in the chart of Sonic to Solana. It's just a small data point at this stage, but it's still something you might be using. So daily chart kind of breaks up right here. I'm not saying that we are going back down, and it's hard to say because essentially Sonic is still 2-3 billion ecosystem coin at this stage. Solana is obviously 80 to 90 billion. So it means that this chart should probably continue the outperformance way higher, which just means that if you have any coins in Sol ecosystem or if you have Solana coins, it might be interesting to you to reposition into this chart. But you also should be quite cautious at this stage because you are definitely not early. You would be early if you would be doing this here. You would be exposed to 80% of upside outperformance already, and obviously the best case scenario is do it from the bottoms, which means that up till this time you would be experiencing the upside of 140% till this date. But this chart is just one nice to watch, and probably on a lower time frame. It actually will provide you with some very, very interesting metrics and levels to compare to Sonic USDT chart to figure out when would be the best entries into this asset. And now, before we move further into the discussion about the altcoin number 2, which is also the layer 1, which is also one of the most performing altcoins at this stage that you probably should take a look on. Let's talk about Altseason. Let's talk about new narrative shift that just appeared on the marketplace, because this news, they just appeared in the last couple of days. And it's crazy how similar they are to 2021 altcoin run and Altseason as well. But what's insane is that they're also very, very similar to 2017 altcoin run and what we actually might be experiencing, especially considering the amount of pain that we are facing overall in the marketplace, is that narratives and catalysts of 2017 altcoin run will combine with the narratives and catalysts of 2021 altcoin run and really give us this long-awaited altcoin supercycle. Because again, thus far, people that were holding alts, they were down only, and it definitely does not invite new people into the industry. And in order for industry to grow, we need new capital, we need new people to join. 5 altcoin catalysts that just appeared in the last several days. They were not known last week, and that's why I always was screaming to you about Altseason, because timing wise it should be happening, and catalysts, they will come just because these things are in the charts, and they're usually being created in order to propel certain things in the charts that should be happening. And just now, in the last several days, we received most of these catalysts, and these catalysts are actually insane. And some of you might say that, well, maybe they will only come into play later. guys, markets are front looking. As far as the markets will start to price in these catalysts, we already will see the start of Altseason. Arguably, it might be happening already because we're recovering from the recent dip. The main question is whether we have seen the bottom already and we are recovering, or whether or not we're seeing the last final dumpage, as Kappa, for example, is showing at this stage, who was wrong a lot of times in this market, to be honest with you. Quantitative tightening will end by Q2 2025. Do you know what Q2 end is? It's actually June, right? And again, markets are front looking. So if you think that, wow, nothing till June is happening, nah, it's not right. Markets, they will start to price in this piece of news. They should be starting to price in this quite soon. I do believe that right now we have a lot of uncertainty around the Russia-Ukraine situation out there, right? And this is what stops the market from really surging up, despite the fact that S&P 500 is actually making new all-time highs, and crypto does not seem to follow. We have seen this in the summer. What happened right after? We surged up like crazy. This is one of the first narratives out there, because when QT stops, it definitely creates the conditions for QE to kick off as well. And the Altseason of 2017, we actually had rate hikes through that Altseason. So QE was not happening as well. Despite that, the crazy Altseason was happening in crypto as well. So don't buy into this narrative that, oh, in order to have Altseason, we have to have QE. Don't buy into it just yet. Point number 2, the Doge Department of Government Efficiency, plans to distribute $400 billion to Americans by 2026. This one is actually quite insane, because right now they're proposing to give $5,000 to each American who's actually paying taxes. This is bigger than stimulus that actually came after COVID, that arguably largely propelled the previous Altseason and previous bull market as well. And 5K is much more than steamy checks at that time. I think they were like 1.4, 1.2, 1.8 and things like that. 5K is a different deal out there. People will definitely be looking to invest. People will definitely be looking to multiply. They will be hearing these stories. Oh, I just bought this meme coin and I got 50K out of my 5K steamy check. And then I bought this altcoin on leverage and I made the 7 figures. Obviously, very, very few retail people will actually be able to do this. FTX next batch of distribution will start in April. Again, this is something that the market will be front running. And I do believe the current batch for smaller accounts already actually happened, but we should be see additional batch in March, which will be present for larger accounts out there, because I do believe that right now repayments have been done for the accounts with less than $50,000 in investments in crypto. The SEC is set to approve multiple altcoin ETFs and Ethereum ETFs taken before Q3, which is very interesting timing as well. You can see quantitative is ending by end of Q2, which is June, and before July, before Q3, the SEC is set to approve multiple altcoin ETFs, which will what? Because you might have narrative that, yeah, like ETFs, they're not pumping the alts and things like that, but what ETFs are actually doing? They are untying the hands of people that are tied up currently in the altcoins, because they're giving them profits, they're giving them more money. And people who are crypto natives that are sitting in these alts at this stage, 100%, they will be repositioning and they will be playing into Altseason as well. Altseason is something that happens because of human greed and because of increase of money supply. Don't buy any other narratives out there. We are slightly delayed this year, this cycle, but it will be coming. And I have a feeling it will be coming quite soon as well. Point number 5, Trump is calling to make the US the crypto capital. This one is huge, although a lot of people do not believe the things that Trump is largely saying at this stage. Despite this fact, these are the words that are pronounced by the President of the United States of America. Let me ask you a question. Did you expect to hear something like this a year ago from Joe Biden? Never. Never. It would be just a crazy thing happening last year. Right now, this is the reality. Right now, this is the world that we are living in. And as a final take, this is the chart of crypto total market cap, excluding BTC and Ethereum, which is essentially the chart of your altcoins. You can see the similarities. You can see 2021, we were trying to break out. We were below the previous all-time high. It's very, very important to combine the metrics as well. At this time, we were below previous all-time high. The bulk of our season, most of the gains, they happened into March. I would say around March, April, and May was the top right there. Then we had the summer dumpage, and then we had the second top in November, right? I remember this. I was buying low cap shitcoins and I was holding them through the whole bear market, losing 200,000 of my hard-earned money. So this is exactly where we are following this speculation at this stage. Chart is quite similar, to be honest, at this stage. Timings are quite similar. Even this formation before the kickoff, because it's like the bull flag, it's like the foundation that you actually build in order to allow for the continuation of the movement. It's very, very similar to something that we have seen right here as well on this chart. The speculation here is clear. It's even about fib levels. They're also similar. From the bottoms to tops, they're very, very similar at this stage. Crazy. We're just living in simulation. Following what this author is showing is that current Altseason should propel the total market cap of altcoins from 900 billion, except BTC and Ethereum. BTC and Ethereum is important because Ethereum is quite a big altcoin by itself, from 2.5 to 3.5 trillion. I would be happy if this would be happening. It means that the base case for alts to pump is actually 4x, right? And most likely alts of new cycle will be outperforming, mainly because they still did not have the manipulation and they have players that are sitting in them that are interested in manipulation to actually happen. Fed minutes, several participants suggest halting or slowing balance sheet reduction pending debt ceiling resolution. This piece of news just happened yesterday, I think, and this just shows that things actually might start moving even faster than everyone is thinking at this stage. And the station, the foundation, the soil is ideal. Everyone is scared, people are shorting. Even if they're not shorting, following the market sentiment, following what they're doing, they are in a bearish sentiment. They are selling, they're shorting, they don't want to do anything, they're leaving the industry, they're not inputting new capital in crypto. And I just put additional $150,000 into the market in the last 1.5 months. This is just something that I did, right? And the second coin I wanted to tell you about is Story, with the ticker IP. The market cap of this thing is at $850 million and MD is at 3.3 billion. This coin actually a new one. It just appeared recently on the marketplace and it is the one of the most performing altcoins at this stage. This is the website of Story. Story is all about intellectual property. That's why essentially the ticker is IP. What you can actually do on Story is protect your rights to intellectual property. It's also a layer 1, and people at this stage, they're willing to throw money at layer 1s. If you would essentially check out what are the coins that are moving currently, Bera, Sonic, Story, they are all layer 1s, and there are reasons for this. There are specific reasons for this, because again, most performing coins of previous cycles as well, they always have been, despite different cycles, many cycles, meme coins and layer 1s. Meme coins, they did have the party, and I don't expect much from them currently due to a range of reasons. Layer 1s seem to be the utility plays that should be next. And it's not just me talking, we already seen this in the charts. We already seen this in the market. So pretty much you can create your IP for any type of intellectual content on this website, on this chain, and it actually will be functioning, right? And people will only be able to use it in a certain way of rules that you will set up following the creation of this IP token for your intellectual property on this chain. This is an interesting post about Story and IP coin that I just found today, and about a guy who is very, very bullish on this coin. So he's saying that IP is a $61 trillion industry. And if you essentially have been living in the real world in 21st century, probably have seen a lot of this issue that people have with people stealing the IP. So many memes, they were stealing the IP of the authors and they were given and receiving lawsuits because of it, right? So many musicians and rappers, they constantly talk about like people are just listening to my songs for free and things like that. There are even artists that just don't care about this thing. They distribute the music for free and they're just making money from concert, which is a very, very interesting thing out there. So what this guy is saying is because of the fact that the whole industry is $61 billion, if IP would be able to reach at least 0.1% of the market share of the whole industry, is going to be $610 billion in FDV, which means that in the market cap that is present right now with the tokens that are locked right now, it will be at around 18.4x. If this Story would be able to grab 1% of the industry, it would be able to reach 184x from here. Now, obviously, personally, I'm not buying into these numbers at this stage because they seem quite crazy. But the things I like about this thing is, again, because it's a layer 1, it's a new project. I do like new projects that are in the narratives that are going to perform currently and that are actually launching around the times when the market should be reversing, right? These are the things I essentially like, because at least show me that the market making team and the team around the product, they're very competent in terms of how they understand the market and how they essentially manipulate the price of the coins out there. The thing I also like about Story is because this type of narrative has never been run before. And this is a narrative that is also very, very familiar to retail. Even my company, at a certain point of time, we were doing blockchain applications to actually identify IP on the paintings for the industry that used to sell essentially paintings, right? Through the NFC chips that will be installed into each and every painting. And the idea was to obviously do everything on the blockchain, right? And here, right now, we have this specific chain just with the sole purpose. I also do like quite these chains with the sole purpose because they do have a very, very concrete product market fit. And it's simply that in crypto, there are no competition to this thing, right? But obviously, due to this fact, it's never going to be used as a casino out there, I would say, mainly because of the fact like it has a very, very concrete purpose to itself, which is from one point of view limits it, from second point of view helps to take over the market share and helps to pump it currently. Although this token is not doing the best at this stage, Sonic is doing the best, but it does not tell us that it cannot do the best in the future. So this is the chart of IP Story at this stage. Since this is a centralized exchange, we don't have the price history from before. And before, essentially, once it launched, it had the price before, it was just dumping, right? It found the bottom around 16th of February. It's a new coin. And since there, we're just surging up higher. We can clearly see on this chart that we are somewhere in between the range. And this thing actually correlates with the resistance level on the chart in terms of the previous price action movement. We just don't have it here because here is the chart from the centralized exchange, right? You can also see that we got rejected heavily from this level. We just got set down into a beautiful corrective channel. Right now, we're trying to break up as well. I would say we have a core support level inside this range, which might actually serve as a nice entry point for longs around this area. So how I would be trading this thing currently, I would just set limit orders around this level, $3.34. And I would also set some limit orders around these levels because traders, they should be supporting this level if we are going to go here. And I do think that this one is actually the ideal level to entry into this thing. And then you pretty much just wait till we are going to the previous levels right here, which is kind of like local or all-time high, if it makes sense, right? You will be able to take out some profits here and just leave the part of your positions for the movements right after. Because I do think, as many people also saying in this market currently, that the entries that you will be making into altcoins at this stage, they very well might serve as long as that you would be able to hold through the majority of the cycle, because there is definitely a chance that we are at the bottom, at the local bottom at this stage. And following everything, following the narratives that are happening on the marketplace, you should probably be focusing on layer ones out there, preferably new layer ones. I do believe that they have a high chance of outperforming in the next leg up in terms of altcoins. This is it in terms of today's overview. Do me a favor, press the like button if you like the video. If not, make sure to press the dislike button. If you have any questions or maybe ideas for the upcoming videos, or maybe I missed some gems on Sonic ecosystem that you would like me to talk on, feel free to share these in the comments. I will be checking all of them and I will be responding to them as well. Thank you very much for watching this one. Stay healthy and rich, and I will be seeing you tomorrow. Bye-bye.